How's it going, everybody? This is the Nitty Gritty. My name is Chad. With me is Leonard, and this is a show about wrestling. And we are doing another random match review for you. And this one comes to us from our good friend of the show, Ronnie. And Leonard, why don't you tell us what match Ronnie selected for us?
Yes, it is a Texas Death Coffin Match between Dusty Rhodes and Ivan Koloff from October 24th of 1980 from the Sam Houston Coliseum. It's a little bit over 16 minutes long. And this is much different than any casket match or Texas Death Match that I've ever seen before. I've often said of like movies, I don't care what your movie is, as long as you kind of create your world with your rules and you adhere to those. This match does not do any of that at all.
I was wondering where you were going with that line of dialogue.
Yes. Because the commentator, and I'm not sure who it is, explains what the rules are. And there's post-match graphics. I say post-matches, they're definitely modern graphics that have been put on way after the fact that show the rules. But then they do not adhere to those rules.
No.
So the idea isn't supposed to be that you get the guy in the coffin. It's Texas Death Match rules where you pin a guy, and then they have, now today I think it's usually a 10 count, and here it seems to be like a 30-second rest period to answer. And then when you lose, if you don't answer, then you will be placed in the coffin and hauled to the back in the coffin as like a humiliating thing, I guess. And this comes about because the commentator mentions Ivan Koloff shows up with a red shovel, because he's the Russian, and promises to bury all American wrestlers. And Dusty's like, "You're not going to bury me, brother," whatever. And that's where this came from. And Dusty wants the coffin in the ring. So usually the casket is outside the ring. In this match, the coffin, and it doesn't have a lid on it. It's just the cheapest looking coffin ever, is just inside the ring. And one thing I did want to mention is that the announcer, when he's introducing Dusty Rhodes, calls him not only the American Dream, but made of living stardust. So maybe that's where the Stardust character came from.
I hope so.
Yes. So anyway, here's what's really weird about it. So the match is basically, it's 5 falls. And in a Texas Death Match, the idea is you want to incapacitate the opponent so they can't get up.
Right.
Yeah. They don't do that here.
No.
That's the first fall off of a small package.
Yeah, and I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, and I'm like, why are you taking the rest break? Koloff is on his feet. It's ready. He's ready to go. And they do tease like Koloff getting thrown into the casket during that first fall, and Dusty almost trips over the coffin in the first fall. But again, the idea is not to go in the coffin, but yet they're teasing going in the coffin.
And like they make it look as like they put it right in the middle of the ring to make it as awkward as possible for the talent to do anything.
Right. And they're like basically wrestling in a quarter of the ring, because the coffin's like in the other 3/4 of it, because they have it not like in the corner, which would make sense, but long ways right dead smack in the middle of the coffin.
Yeah.
Also, mentioning the first fall, this is the laziest referee I've ever seen. He gets down on one knee and he doesn't even slap like a certain rhythm. He's like, ow, whatever. And there's there's no rhythm. It's so lazy. It's the laziest referee I've ever seen. Of course, both guys bleed. I don't think there's any. They don't need to bleed, but it's 1980 and it's Koloff and Rhodes, and they're just going to bleed for the sake of bleeding.
Right.
Yeah. During the, I was just thinking, what was the second fall? Yeah, Koloff.
I think Koloff just hits him in the face.
Yeah, it just hits him in the face and he falls down. A lot of these are just random shots, and they're very short falls. Like the falls are a few minutes apiece.
It took me out of it so much. Like, and by the way, like, because I know Ronnie's going to hear this. I'm so glad that he sent us this. This is such a random oddity of a match. Like just
Yes.
saying Texas Death Coffin Match doesn't make any sense. You feel awkward every time you say it, but
Yes.
like it is what it is. Like, so yeah, like the falls don't make any sense. The rules are confusing, and once you really look at the rules, like two or three times, you're like, okay, I guess it. I could see here now what they were doing, but like it's this is such a convoluted setup. Um, but having said that, I thought that the ending within, as you were saying at the top, within the universe that they set up, I thought the ending was somewhat cool because it's just Koloff hitting his knee on the edge of the coffin and then getting like, it was like a double fist hit.
Kind of like a Polish hammer. Kind of like a Polish hammer.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Dusty does the whole flip, flop, and fly deal, but instead of the elbow, he does a Polish hammer, and Koloff just lands in the coffin, and the match is over.
Yeah.
No pinfall, no intermission, 30-second count. Again, the commentator very clearly said the match does not end if you go in the coffin. The match ends when he goes in the coffin.
Yeah,
and we also don't, and supposedly part of it is he gets carted to the back while in the coffin. We don't see that. They may have cut before that happened, but then I'm saying, who's going to carry him to the back? Right. There's no one out there to do it. Our guys
certainly wasn't going to do it.
Yeah, Dusty's not going to do it. So who's going to go and get? And Ivan Koloff is a big dude in a rickety box. You're going to need 4 or 5 guys. You're going to need actual pallbearers, but not pallbearer.
This is barely a coffin. It's basically a bunch of boards.
Yeah, kind of. It's kind of sewed together or stitched together or nailed together or what have you. And there are handles on the side because at one point Koloff gets rammed into one of the handles on.
Right, and you're right when you said like this is less used as like this is a finale to this feud. You're never going to see Koloff again, and it's more used as like a tool of embarrassment, kind of like a hair versus hair or something to that effect. But it's just like reading Texas Death Coffin and then seeing how it's used here. It just leaves you scratching your head. I really wish that Dusty were still alive to take part in his own podcast and talk about some of these things.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone has ever talked about this. I mean, this is getting such a rarity, such an oddity. I had never heard of it before, and probably for good reason, because it is not a good match, even though I kind of like the idea. Like, I could totally see, say, like Undertaker and JBL having had.
But imagine suggesting to them, hey, we're going to have the casket in the middle of the ring. Like,
yeah, no, that would be a no. But I can understand the idea, or like Terry Funk and Undertaker. That would be a great Texas Death Coffin match. So like a Texas guy against the Undertaker of the coffin.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. Like, you're going to incapacitate the guy. You have to basically, most of the time in a coffin match, you're incapacitating them to get them into the coffin.
Right.
So this is kind of adding. We seem to talk about a lot of what I like to call, the saying a hat on a hat. It's like a stipulation with a stipulation with a stipulation.
Yeah.
And this is something I think could have worked. But like I said, you establish your rules, you adhere to those rules. They didn't do that here. So I don't know if they just said, hell with it, we're going to do what we're doing, or there wasn't communication between them and the ref and the commentator and everybody else as to what it was they were going to do.
I almost wish they would have given it another gimmick, because then I would have recommended this match wholeheartedly. Like
tuxedo.
If it was a Texas Death Coffin barbed wire tuxedo match. Like that's right. Like I would have loved that. That would have been great. But just being that it's Texas Death Coffin, and when the commentator is going out of his way to talk about the rules, and the rules do not reflect in any way what you're seeing in the ring.
Yes. And I think it's even funnier that the fact, I believe this comes from the NWA archive, so you can tell that they put on modern graphics to it.
Yeah.
They even made graphics for these incorrect rules.
Yeah. So, absolutely go and check out this match. You can find links to it on YouTube amongst other
videos. We didn't give a star rating. I would give it like a star.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I'll go a star and a half simply because of the spot where Ivan Koloff knocks his knee. The idea of somebody being in a coffin because they knocked their knee into it, to me, is hilarious. Like, I don't know why. I just when I was preparing for, I was like, how's this going to end? Like, both these guys look fine, and it's like, oh, okay, well, there it is. So yeah, go check it out. Let us know what you think about it, and let us know in the comments. We're always looking to hear from our viewers. Check out our other videos, Stupid Questions, Segment Surgery, and our full-length episodes. And check us out on Apple Podcasts and or Spotify. For Leonard, my name is Chad, and we will see you next time.